When
Coming up on
COVID
Unleash
hit,
Thyself.
I knew that we were going to take a big hit to our business. And so I decided to get my coaching certification. And when I hung out my shingle, I was a generic coach. And I said to myself, I wonder how the market is going to speak to me and tell me to specialize. And it happened in the very first phone call. Remember, we're 5 months into COVID. And this guy says this pandemic has got me rethinking my life. I don't like my career. I don't like the life I'm living. I want to live a life of meaning and purpose. And I said, great, what's your purpose?
Welcome, beautiful souls, to Unleash Thyself, a podcast where we journey into the depths of personal transformation, spirituality, and growth. I'm your host, Constantin Morun, and today we welcome Ian Chamandy. Over the last 20 years, Ian has helped more than 400 organizations define their purpose and become consistently uniquely remarkable through his proprietary blueprint process. Now, blueprinting defines an organization's purpose in 7 words or less. We're going to find out why. And it uses it to design how it will operate and communicate. Now, that's on the organization side. Ian also, on the personal side, has adapted this process for individuals like you and I so they can create a personal blueprint for a happy, productive, self-directed, and purpose-driven life. He's also an author, speaker, and coach, as well as a contributor to a nationally broadcasted TV station. He co-wrote the book, Why Should I Choose You? Answering the most important question in business in 7 words or less. So now, with that being said, Ian, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Constantin. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. I mean, purpose, as you and I talked offline, is such a big part of what I do today. And I've realized, looking back at my life, it was always something that I was interested in, but never spent enough time to dig in enough. So let's start with the biggest question I always get, Ian. Does everyone have a purpose?
Everyone has a purpose.
Okay. Why? Or how?
You know
Tell
what?
us more.
Can I just address something that you said there?
Go ahead.
You said you thought a lot about purpose for a long time. And then, the question is, why didn't you do anything? And I'm not taking a shot at you, but it's like,
please do.
Anything about it? Why didn't you do anything about it? And I think the answer for most people is no one knows what the heck to do to find their purpose.
Yes.
Right?
That's
And
a big
if you
one.
go out and you read, you can read for days about purpose. And everybody writes stuff about, these are the advantages of living a purpose-driven life or being a purpose-driven company. And and you can read that in, Harvard Business Review and all that stuff. But no one tells you how to do that, how to do it. How do you actually find your purpose? And the question before that, which is, what the heck is purpose? What is it?
And why is it important, right? That's another big one, because before I even want to do anything is, why should I care? But to answer your question...
I think people know why it's important, though. They want it. They want it. But, if you asked 100 people on the street, what's the definition of purpose? I think most of them would say something along the lines of why I exist. And it's like, how the heck do you answer that question? First of all, it suggests that your purpose is preordained. And secondly, how the heck do you answer a question that big? Right? Yeah. So that's not the definition of purpose. And I think that Pablo Picasso, is sort of my spiritual leader. Yes, the artist.
Okay.
Because he said, the meaning of life is to find your gift.
Yes.
Your purpose is to share it with the world. And if you just rephrase that to, your purpose is to find your gift and share it with the world, then that means that your purpose is your gift. Now, the way I articulate your gift is the one thing at your core, at your essence, that makes you uniquely remarkable. That's what your gift is.
And there's only one gift? There's only one?
So what you have, your gift, your gift is like a seed, and all that stuff that you're thinking of is all the flowers. that
Okay.
flow
Okay.
that flow from that seed,
I love it.
right?
I love it.
So Bruce Springsteen's gift is not that he's a great musician or songwriter or entertainer or anything like that. That's just the manifestation of his gift.
Of course, yes.
Think of his purpose as like a stone, and everything he does and says is shadows cast from that stone. His music is just one shadow cast from that stone, right?
Absolutely.
You might find out that like the lead guitarist for Steely Dan, he's not only a world class guitarist, but he's actually a consultant to defense committees in in Washington, and not about guitars. So
Probably not.
these are all just the manifestations. But back to what the heck actually is purpose. So purpose is that one thing at the end of the day that makes you uniquely remarkable. And you asked me, does everybody have a purpose? Here's why they do. There are three components to purpose: your
Mhm.
beliefs, your wants, and your talents, right? Everything, all the guiding beliefs that make you behave the way you do, all the things that you want in life, your desires, and then all of the talents that you have, whether they be ones that you're born with or and accumulate along the way. So those are the three components of purpose. And everybody has their, they're like snowflakes. They're your own unique combination of beliefs, wants, and talents. So the combinations and permutations are endless. So you can have 8 billion people in the world, and and all 8 billion
Okay.
people are different. And so when you make decisions that are aligned with your purpose, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm making decisions that are aligned with my beliefs, wants, and talents. And that's why everybody has purpose. And that's what purpose does for you. It's a decision making tool. You have a purpose statement and you say, this is what I am committed to in life. And and all of the decisions, that's going to be a filter through which I make all my decisions.
Yeah.
Because my decisions, I all want all of my decisions to be aligned with my beliefs, wants, and beliefs, wants, and talents. Um, so
That's it.
you're so that's the practical application of your purpose. It's a decision making tool. Is this decision aligned with my purpose,
Yes.
or is it not? Is it aligned with my beliefs, wants, and talents, or is it not?
Yeah, I love it. So much to unpack there. And I want to go back to something you said at the beginning. The question you asked, more of a rhetorical question. What do you do once you do want to find your purpose? And I mean, for me, it took me a couple of decades to do that. And I was in my almost late 30s, I would say. And I'm someone that loves to study and research. So I think I probably, not I think, I know I spent over 1,000 hours plus reading books and listening to podcasts, watching videos. And then I developed my own method to finding it. And I've been using it on myself. And since then, I've been able to help others as well. So I'm curious, I mean, there is some overlap, but there's also a lot of areas where I'm like, that's interesting. That's a different way to approach it. Because for one, and this is what I was going to go next with, let's talk beliefs for a second. You said that a big part of purpose is beliefs.
Right.
Now, I've come to understand with my background in psychology and neuroscience that beliefs and thought patterns in general, they are not necessarily always yours, right? There are stories that have been learned from others in your environment, especially in those first 7 years of your life. So if I have certain beliefs, and we know from neuroscience that neuroplasticity allows you to, or gives you the ability to rewire your brain, to change beliefs, essentially, how do you see that factor in? Because if I have a purpose that's based on my belief system, but my belief system is going to be upgraded based on me executing on my purpose, I see it as a very fluid thing. How do you see it? Like that part of the purpose, at least. Because talents, okay, sure, those might be more innate. Those maybe you can still develop, but every part seems to be something that's always evolving.
Um, so it evolves within a narrow frame, right?
Mm.
And so I'll give you one proof with humans and one proof with businesses.
Okay.
I'll start with the businesses. So IBM in the 1940s and 50s. right? What role did they play in the business community? What role did they play with their customers? Well, back then, they supplied them with the most essential business technology, right? Whatever it was back in the day, photocopiers and
Mhm.
stuff. Remember fax machines? What role? So that's back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, let's say. Here we are, half a century later, and that company has gone through a lot of twists and turns. And what role did it play through all of those twists and turns? And what role does it play today? And a supplier of essential business technology to big businesses. It's doing
Mhm.
exactly the same thing in an entirely different way, but it's doing exactly the same thing. Its DNA kept it on track, right? Its purpose kept it
Sure.
on track. So, yeah, you will have twists and turns in your life. You will tinker around the edges with beliefs and wants and talents. By the way, are not just talents that you're born with, right? They're if you get a PhD, that's a heck of a talent in my world. A bigger talent than my
Yeah, it's a
degree.
strength. It's a strength, perhaps something you've built over the years and you've honed
Right.
in. Yeah,
Yeah. So I hear what you're saying, but I don't think we change enough. It's just sort of tinkering around the edges. But then, if you then determine what your purpose is, and our standard for defining it is in 7 words or less because you squeeze out all of the crap, right? Um, that could then cause you to change your beliefs, wants, and talents. You may discover that you have beliefs that are inconsistent with your purpose, and you may choose
exactly.
you may choose to keep them,
Yeah,
but you would do it knowingly, right, rather than being oblivious of that, or you may choose to change them. But you are leading, and I don't know what Greek philosopher said this, but I think it was Socrates who said an unexamined life is not worth living. You are leading an examined life even when you consciously decide to make a decision that is not aligned with your purpose. That's an enlightened decision.
exactly. I
But
love it.
presumably you would try to make all your decisions in alignment with it.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's exactly how I see it as well. I mean, when I look at my life since I've gotten more aligned with my purpose and mine, I can do it in 7 words or less, and there's an extended version of it, and we'll dive into that a bit as well to really understand more about why 7 words, now why not five, why not 15, whatever the number might be. But we'll go there. Let's finish up the thought with, and I love the examples you gave with IBM. And when it comes to beliefs, wants, and talents, and I split talents as gifts and strengths, right? Things you're born with, things you are learning along the way, personally.
Yeah,
And
no, it can be absolutely things that you've accumulated along the way and that you weren't born with.
no, as I'm saying, it's gifts and strengths. So gifts is what,
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
book, what you're born with. Strengths is what you've accumulated. Like, for example, I have a project management certification, organization change management certifications. Those are things I've accumulated as part of my vocation that I've decided to go down on.
right.
And
And to me, you
anything that
have
comes with
talents in those areas.
yes, yes. We'll dive into that in a second. So talents for you is everything, right? Like it's included what you're born with, but also what you've honed in over your
Yes,
lifetime.
because it's what can you bring to the table, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly,
if
exactly.
you were born with a Celine Dion singing voice, then that's an awesome talent.
It is.
But if you start playing guitar at 15 and and you're performing in front of audiences around the world by the time you're 20, well, playing guitar and writing songs is not something you were born with. That's a talent that you have to offer the world, that you accumulated along the way,
Exactly, exactly.
including all of your certifications. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's Constantin here, and I want to take a brief moment to truly thank you for being a part of this incredible journey of transformation. You are the reason we are creating this content. I see you and I appreciate you. Your support, truly means the world to me. I want to ask you for a small favor. I'd love for you to join our mission by hitting like, subscribe, or leaving a thoughtful comment or review. Your engagement helps others discover these insights, and together we can continue to unlock the power of authenticity and personal transformation. Thank you for being a part of this movement. Now, back to the episode. Yeah. Well, I mean, and what I found interesting for myself with the purpose going back to that, and I always like to use myself as an example because I know myself best. It allowed me to re-examine my beliefs. I mean, a lot of them have shifted in the last few years of knowing my purpose, which is great because it
That's what I was talking about.
my
Yeah.
person, right? My wants shifted significantly because my wants before were not aligned necessarily to actually my wants. It was more defined based on someone else's wants or definitions of what
Yes.
I want, right? And then when you look at the talents, as you call them, well, that too, they became more apparent, right? Because some, again, I call gifts the things you're born with. Some of those, while they were kind of apparent to others, they weren't apparent to me, and I wasn't honing in on them. I wasn't doubling down and enhancing. And same with those other talents, the ones that you develop over life, right? And it's like, oh, how do you enhance them? And it makes so much sense because once you align with the whole picture, then you can, the elements of it can be enhanced as well.
You make better decisions.
Exactly. I was going to say, what comes up for me right away here to ask is, what's the most common pitfall or mistake someone makes on this journey when they embark on finding their purpose? Is it jumping to conclusions too early? Is it not giving themselves enough time to introspect and reflect on what it could be? Or what have you found in your experience working with so many organizations and people?
Constantin, I think the answer is in your own experience, right? You had a desire to figure out your purpose. It took you 20 years. Why? Because it took you 20 years to figure out a methodology to get there
Mm-hmm.
because you couldn't find one anywhere else in the world.
Yeah,
I don't
I'll say
think
for me, if I may really quickly, and sorry to interrupt there, but it's yes, it took 20 years because I didn't find the methodology easily enough, but also because the desire wasn't necessarily there. Like I would ask myself questions like, "Oh, what's my purpose?" And then my environment was in such a way that wasn't conducive to answering the question, or people would dismiss me. I would ask my parents, I would ask mentors, and it's like, no, don't have to think about it, which put it back in your mind, and then another 1 or 2 years go by. So I would, and I'm talking to clients and other people, I've realized it's very common where people don't have the right resources to
right.
find. Right? And one of them is the one you're talking about, which is like, how do you actually do it?
Right. So when you say what are the common pitfalls, the most common pitfall is not starting because you don't know how. Right?
Story of our lives, right? Like if we can't get anywhere if we don't start.
And then when you go and you say, you do a Google search and you say, how do I find my purpose? And you click on a link that says, here's what purpose is and how to find it, and you find out that the definition of purpose is like 4 paragraphs in academic form, and you're reading it and your eyes are glazing over and your head is swimming, and and then you get to the end and you go, okay, now what do I do? And it's just they don't know how. And so what happened with me was I created this course I created this service in partnership with my business partner, who sadly died about 6 months into COVID. He didn't die of COVID, but he died in COVID. So we created this service for businesses to define what makes them uniquely remarkable, and then have that in 7 words or less, and then have that short phrase guide all of their operations and management and all of their communications, meaning their branding, marketing, and sales. And when COVID hit, I knew that we were going to take a big hit to our business. And so I decided to get my coaching certification. And when I hung out my shingle, I was a generic coach. And I said to myself, I wonder how the market is going to speak to me and tell me to specialize. And it happened in the very first phone call. Remember, we're 5 months into COVID. And this guy says, this pandemic has got me rethinking my life. I don't like my career. I don't like the life I'm living. I want to live a life of meaning and purpose. And I said, great, what's your purpose? And he said, I don't know.
Exactly, exactly.
And it was client after client, right? That was the first phone call with person after person. So what I realized is I could take this big behemoth, strip out all the stuff that didn't pertain to individuals, add a little bit of stuff that did pertain to individuals, and voila, I now have an individual blueprint, right? My corporate product is called a blueprint. My company is called Blueprint. And this became an individual blueprint. But I would do it one on one with my coaching clients.
Hmm.
And then a 4-time corporate client of mine came along and said, I have a online course infrastructure that I can plunk on top of your individual blueprint. And that can be offered as a course online so that you can take people step by step through the process of finding your purpose, defining it in 7 words or less, building the story around it so that you can speak charismatically about, what you're committed to. And then as a final step, we identify 10 different areas of your life. And you have the opportunity to use your purpose statement, that's your 7 words or less, as the guide to defining how you're going to lead a purpose driven life in each of those 10 different areas of life. So, for instance, family, career, money, health, those are the kinds of categories that you start looking through the filter of your purpose
Of
to
course, yeah.
say, oh, how am I going to live a purpose filled financial life? How am I going to live a purpose filled life with my family? How am I going to change my career so I get feelings of meaning and purpose from it?
Beautiful. And well, let's dive into it. What's the process look like? How long does it take? Is it something that takes months? Is that something that can be done in a weekend? How does it look like?
Um, it is, I think it'd take about 15, 20 hours to do the course, right? You do it at your own pace. You log in and you begin at the beginning and you slowly work your way through. We've got like a whole pile of videos where I hold your hand all the way through the process. And what we do, can I just back up for a sec?
Of course.
Because I keep talking about this abstract thing, your purpose in 7 words or less. And
Hmm.
I haven't like given an actual example. And if I give you an example, then I can come back to your question about the process.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So my purpose statement, my 7 words or less, the one thing at the end of the day that makes me uniquely remarkable is transforming confusion into clarity. That's what I have a special talent for, right?
Okay.
And um, and I do that in all areas of my life, my business area, my personal area, everywhere. And I look at all my entire life through that filter and say, well, I'm thinking about this. Is this is this aligned with who I am and what my strength is, or is it not? Right. So that purpose statement, transforming confusion into clarity. Remember, I said your purpose, the 3 components are your beliefs, wants, and talents.
Yeah.
Well, the components of transforming confusion into clarity is my beliefs, wants, and talents. So, to get to your purpose statement, we have to flush out your beliefs, wants, and talents. And the way we do that is I lead you through a step by step process where we take 2 accomplishments in your life, things that you've been involved with that had a great result. And oh my God, I look back and that's one of my favorite things I did in my life. Hopefully one from business and one from personal. And I lead you through a process where we deconstruct those. Because here's the thing, when you were involved in whatever that project was, you were having a great time. You might have even been in what they call a flow state, right? Where it's just time sort of stands still and it's like, I'm just really into this. And 10 hours passed. Holy cow. So that means that your purpose was raging through that entire process.
Yes.
So, because
Absolutely.
your purpose was so present there, that's what we break apart. And we, in the process of deconstructing these two accomplishments, at the end, what we have is two sets of beliefs, wants, and talents. Now, they are going to be roughly the same, but what they become is the raw material for discovering what your purpose statement actually is. And here's the cool thing. And I am so excited about this because we did not at all imagine that we would have this ability. We have built AI into the course. So not only am I there on video hand holding you through the process, but we have this AI tool called Wordsmith that helps you through the process. It's built right into the course. And boy, if you've never used AI before, you're going to have a ball because you
Absolutely.
are going to learn to be an expert at it. And it's really easy to learn to be not an expert, but good. So once we've got this collection of beliefs, wants, and talents, the raw data about you that we've distilled from these deconstructed accomplishments, we throw them into AI and we say, let's jumble this around and see what we come up with. And I show you how to do that in the videos, show you how to work the AI. And at some point, words, phrases, even a whole expression is going to come out. And that's how we slowly get to the right 7 words or less. And it's not a trite process because it has to be right. And when it's right, it lasts for the rest of your life. And when it's wrong, you'll forget about it a week from now. So we really, really, really have to get it right. And that's how we've designed this process. And then when you've got a helper like AI to move you through the process, it's really incredible.
It is. And it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, I use AI with my clients right now, especially during this step of purpose definement. And it's all about your life stories, at least the way I go about doing this with the people in my life and I do it for myself. It's like looking at the stories, and you said it's the accomplishments. Interesting enough, and I want to talk to you about this, I also use some of the harder stories in our lives. And the reason being is that I have found that in some of your hardest moments, parts of you show up that you may not even realize are there. Right? Usually, the more caregiving sides, the more empathic sides, the more compassionate sides. So I'm curious because I mean, obviously, you've been doing this for a lot longer than I have. Why focus on just the accomplishments? Is that enough to give you a
Yeah.
close enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Think of purpose as being protected inside a circle, right?
Okay.
And what we're trying to do is get inside that circle to discover purpose. So we sort of, we try attacking from here. No, that's not a weak spot. Attacking from here. Oh, here's a weak spot. We can get in there. And here's another weak spot here. No, that's not a weak spot there. So the point is, I am not saying that my methodology is the only way to discover your purpose. I'm
Of
just
course.
saying it's one way.
Yeah,
And
I
to
love that.
your answer to your question, is it enough? Yes, it works. It works. And that's why. And the thing is, um, I have no doubt that delving into the kinds of stories that you're talking about can help in a different process. I'm trying to strip, from confusion to clarity, right?
Mhm.
In any situation in life, I'm trying to strip out the excess baggage. How simple can we make this until it starts to lose its effectiveness? Where is that threshold? And as soon as I find that threshold, I can't strip out anymore. That's fine, but I don't need to add anymore because the
Yeah.
result, if I add more, I get the same result and add confusion. Keep it here, and now it's easier. You just get to
Yeah,
clarity.
I love that. I love
So
that.
yeah, if it didn't work, I would say to you, tell me more about your to see if I could incorporate some of that into what I do. but I'm still trying to strip stuff out, so I don't want to add more.
I mean, that's good. So, what have you seen on average, or how many stories do you need to be able to find what you're looking for? Because if you want to do the list,
We
just
just
two
do two.
stories.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
well, it's two accomplishments, right? So, one from
Okay.
business, preferably, and one from your personal life.
Yeah.
So, the example I used is in my last company, I had a project with the Ontario Lung Association. And we were tasked with coming up with a campaign that would, so what their concern was that teens were being exposed to too much secondhand smoke by their friends.
Sure.
So we had to come up with a campaign that that minimized that.
Of course. Okay.
And the thing is, the traditional means of doing that, awareness campaigns on TV or online or whatever, they work over years, right? How long did it take to convince us to wear seatbelts? How long did it take to convince us not to smoke? We don't have that time. We had to come up with a campaign that made them stop immediately. And the fact that we did come up with a psychological mechanism that would make smokers voluntarily, they were self motivated to move away from their friends when they lit up. And I'm really proud that we came up with that. So that was one of my examples.
Mhm.
The other, then my personal one was I coached my son's hockey team when he was like 8 years old, 9 years old. And I remember from my own hockey days as an 8 or 9 year old, car ride home with dad was not great because I heard about all the things that I did wrong in the game. I hated the
Mhm.
car ride home. And I needed to figure out a way. I knew that, many of these kids were experiencing the same thing, and I needed to figure out a way to stop that from happening. But I knew asking the parents to stop, not to do that, was not the way to do it. So again, I figured out a psychological mechanism that created an expectation inside that little bubble of the car on the way home that this was the kind of conversation that was going to happen. What did you do right in the game?
Mhm.
Not what did you do wrong? And the kids bought into it, the parents bought into it, and it just became something that, I reminded everybody every game. Here's, you know, and that made me really proud. I didn't have to be a dictator. I didn't have to be the bad cop. I didn't have to impose rules. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you take those two stories, and what do you do next then? Because that seems simple enough, right? But
Well,
for
now
someone,
you're getting into now you're getting into IP. Um, but that's my starting point.
okay, okay, yeah,
Yeah, that's my starting point. And then there's about 7 steps that we go through to deconstruct, deconstruct,
exactly.
deconstruct.
That's what I thought.
And,
Yeah,
and then again, at the end, you're left with this basket of beliefs, wants, and talents.
beautiful with the patterns, right? Like that make up the 7 words.
Yeah,
I love that.
exactly.
Yeah, because I was looking at your stories and looking at your statement, and I'm like, how did you get from those stories? Because there's a couple of things that come up for me as you're sharing those stories, right? Not necessarily because you said your statement is. Can you repeat it one more time? Is confusion to clarity?
Transforming confusion into clarity.
Yeah,
I can give you another example that's very different.
sure.
If you,
Would love to.
okay, so it was kind of a funny situation because this woman she's I would say an acquaintance, and but she is smart as a whip. I think she graduated from high school when she was 16. She graduated from got a master's in business by the time she was 20. I think this was her third CEO gig. Anyway, she got hired by this company 5 years ago. It was a mess. It was on the verge of bankruptcy. She joins the company. And now here we are after work one day sitting having a drink, and she's saying, the company's running itself, and I'm bored. And I think I need to look for my next engagement. And I said, that's awesome. And she said, no, it's not. I said, why? She said, I'm scared to death. I said, why? She said, I came to this company 5 years ago and it was a mess and it required all my energy, all of my focus, all of my intellect. I put my head down, I put the blinders on, and I just focused on fixing this. Now, 5 years later, it's running itself and I'm bored. But as I contemplate going out and looking for my next gig, I feel like I've been out of the loop for 5 years, disconnected from the business community. Are my skills still relevant? Is there a place for me out there? Will anybody value what I have to offer? This is all the questions that are going on in her head, right? All this uncertainty about the future causing anxiety. That's what we call a trigger event, by the way.
Hmm.
Something that happens in your life, it creates uncertainty about the future, and that causes anxiety. So, career change, death in the family, um, retirement, graduation, these are all trigger events. And so she's experiencing a trigger event and she's experiencing the uncertainty about the future and the anxiety that is married to it. And I said, okay, well, let's go through this process. So she said, okay. So I get her to talk and I said, what you're saying, oh, and she talked about how much she loves wallowing in the muck of a company and figuring it out. And the worse shape it's in, the smarter she gets, the more engaged she is, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you're conjuring in my mind this like platoon of soldiers who have
Hmm.
just been through hell and back. And now they find themselves at the edge of a minefield. And they're sitting there battle weary saying, when does it ever end? And she stands up in front of them in her full battle gear, her helmet, the whole bit. And she says, as their new commander, and she says, don't worry, I've been here before. I have a plan. I will get you safely to the other side. And you can just imagine these people going, oh my God, that's all I want. Yes, yes, please, please help me get safely to the other side. And I said, so the expression leading safely across the minefield is what, comes to mind. And she said, that's me. That's me. That's who I am. That's who I want to be. And that's what a purpose statement does to you. It just grabs you by the heart and says, we're one, right? That statement, leading safely through the minefield, wrapped itself around her heart and said, we're one. Now, here's how it works for her, right? So she goes out and she talks to some of her friends in the executive recruitment community. A guy comes back to her and he says, I've got this great opportunity for you. This is a global company, so it's a step up. And they're doing just fine. They've got all the fundamentals in place, a fantastic executive team, and they just need a really great CEO to keep running this great organization. Now, keep in mind that her purpose statement is leading safely through the minefield. Where in that description of that company do you hear anything about minefield? So she listens to that and she says, no, not for me. No, sorry. He says, what do you mean? He says, no, no, no. I want I want a pigsty. And he says, well, I have this big pile of stinky, smelly garbage over here, but I don't want to show that to any of my clients. She says, show me it. That's what I want. Give me that. Because she doesn't even get engaged. Her brain doesn't switch on unless you're in a desperate situation. So you see how she uses that to make decisions about her career.
Of
At
course, yeah.
its root, purpose is a decision making tool. How do I make decisions that are aligned with me so that I'm always happy about those decisions and they help me lead a happier life?
That's beautiful. That's a great example too. Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
So we covered a lot. One, you also covered why it's important. right? But are there some reasons why it's important that maybe people are not aware of, and it's like it could shift someone's opinion on wanting to go through, let's say, your course or your one-on-one coaching or whatever
Sure.
other things that there are to find purpose?
Yeah, sure. So it really boils down to three reasons. First one is when because your purpose identifies that one thing that makes you uniquely remarkable. Let's call it your superpower. Whoa, all of a sudden you realize you have a superpower and nobody can take that away from you. No matter how beaten down you get, nobody can take that away from you. So what that means is A, it just lifts your confidence knowing that you have a superpower, right? And that it can't be taken away from you. Um, and then the second thing is that it allows you to use that purpose statement to design a different life.
Mm,
One that is going to be like to actually design it, to be intentional about creating your future in alignment with this purpose, right? And what you're doing is you're laying out a highway to the future that you know is paved with everything that you believe, everything that you want, and you know the being able to use all of your talents.
sure.
And then the third thing is that it's whether you believe the law of natural attraction or not, right? What you put out into the world returns to you. What I do believe in there is that if you communicate accurately out to the world who you are, what you're about, and what you're looking for, and you can do that in a clear, concise, and compelling way, it is far more likely that that's what's going to be returned to you. Why? Not for any woo woo reason. It's advertising. You can advertise yourself better, right? You tell a better story about yourself. And when you do, it is so. Here's the thing, that story acts like a magnet, right? And when I say magnet, everybody automatically thinks, oh, it attracts, right? And it does, but it repels as much as it attracts.
It
So
does.
when you tell your story, it filters stuff out because there will be some people who hear your story and say, whew, that's cool. I want me some of that. How do I join? And other ones you say, no, I don't like that at all. That's not me. And you go, great, great, cool. It was easy for both of us to make that decision.
Yeah, it dispels confusion, right? It
Mm-hmm.
dispels uncertainty,
Absolutely. So, point number 3, better advertising of yourself.
which leads to better relationships,
Yeah, sure, sure.
better jobs, better everything in life, really.
My business partner, his purpose statement was causing wow. And anybody who knows him knows how well that fit him. And as an example, we would be in a blueprint session with a company, bunch of senior executives sitting around our living room at our office. And I lead the conversation, I push the conversation, I facilitate it, I'm writing. And Ken kind of sits there quietly and he listens and he listens. And then he would say, blah, 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 blah. And everyone just goes, where the heck did that come from? That's brilliant. But he just like took that and that and that and that and that.
Mhm.
And somehow he drew lines there that nobody else drew and came up with something where people heard it and just went, wow, that's causing wow. Okay. Imagine you work at a company and Ken and I are in offices next door to each other. And my nameplate says Ian Chamandy, transforming confusion into clarity. And his says Ken Aber, causing wow. And you and your team have this problem that you just cannot crack, right? So who do you go to? Transforming confusion into clarity or causing wow? Well, you go to transforming confusion into clarity. Now, if once your team cracks that, and you say, oh my God, we're on a roll here. How do we kick this up a level? Where do you go? Of course, you go to causing wow. Ken's going to take that and figure out how to take it up to the next level. And he was a master at that. So when I say point number 3 is you can tell a compelling story about yourself, it's advertising. It's not woo-woo, it's advertising.
That's beautiful. I love that. So why 7 words or less?
Okay, so I have my smug answer, which is why not?
Why
So
not 5 then? Why not 3?
yes, no, for sure. And the dirty secret was because we didn't realize that we were coming up with these short phrases, and then somebody pointed out to us that it was, wow, that's incredible. That was only 4 words, and I started, and oh, I have some of my facts wrong, but the point was when someone realized that that this short phrase thing was becoming a trend, we looked to see what the longest of the short phrases was, and it was 7 words. So we said, okay, that's our limit. And the thing is, when you declare a limit, it's actually easy to work inside it. Most purpose statements are 2 or 3 or 4 words. So that's the smug answer. Why not? The real answer is because it takes a lot of intellectual rigor to get it down to 7 words. And what you're doing is you're squeezing out the crap and the wasted words, the weasel words, the meaningless phrases in these long purpose statements. The intellectual rigor it takes to get it down to 2 or 3 or 4 words. Oh, geez, I just lost my point there. Oh, means in the first instance, it's easy to understand. In the second instance, it's easy to remember. And in the third instance, it's easy to repeat. So if I tell you my purpose statement, you now become an evangelist for me because you can tell my story. And when you're out there in the world and you're hearing people talk about this, that, or the other thing, if you hear of a company or a person who's lost direction and needs, the guidance of a purpose, then oh, Ian's the guy, right? Because it's so easy to understand what I'm about. And it's easy for you to tell them what I'm about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a company and it's your company purpose statement, why do you want it to be 7 words or less? Because you want it to be easy to understand. All the employees just get it. Doesn't require an explanation. And that is true, right? You hear the purpose statement, usually the reaction from employees is, oh yeah, that's it. I love that. You finally captured it. Second, easy to remember. If that's the reaction to hearing it, understanding it so completely without an explanation, you're going to remember it. And then the third thing is that all of your employees, with that 7 words or less as the root of everything they say about the company, they are going to become powerful evangelists for your company. What you'll get, like let's say you have 10,000 people in your company and you come up with this purpose statement, it resonates on a deep emotional level with everyone and everyone buys in and adopts it. They are going to tell the story of your company in 10,000 different ways. And all of them are going to capture the full value of your company. Because it doesn't matter that they're using different words, they're coming from the same place, which is what makes the company uniquely remarkable. All of them are coming from the purpose, what makes the company uniquely remarkable. Therefore, they are going to be evangelizing in a clear, concise, and compelling way what makes you uniquely remarkable as a company. And of course, in sales, in recruiting, in strategic partnerships, in government regulation, all that stuff, right? It's just so much more powerful. Yeah.
How much as a companies, organizations, businesses purpose have to do or tie in with the purpose of the founder or the person that's launching the business?
That is a great question. So people often ask me, as you did, you asked me if every person has a purpose. And I said yes. Does every company have a purpose? Because I've had people say to me, I know companies that have no purpose. It's like every company has a purpose, every
Oh,
single
they
one.
do.
And
Yeah.
every company operates according to its purpose. 98% of companies don't know where it is, what it is. So therefore, although their purpose is inside them, kind of doing its best to drive them, there's nothing intentional. They're not intentional about it. And that's
Mhm.
why revealing it, articulating it is so important. Um, but every company has a purpose for one reason. And I'm about to make a statement that sounds crazy, but it's true. Every company was started for the same reason. And that's because a person or a group of people said, I know how to do this better. They worked in a business, they learned, they followed, then they started to lead, then they started to think for themselves, and they said, I wouldn't do that like that. I would change this like that. I would probably do this differently. And then they get too constrained inside that business where they can't do it the way they want to do it. So they say, Frida, we talk about these things. You think the same thing I do. Why don't we start our own business? And we'll incorporate all these things that we believe that we're not doing here. She says, awesome. So the two of you become partners and you start a business. And whatever that stuff was floating around in your head, that was how you would do differently. Those are the elements of your founding philosophy and what makes you uniquely remarkable. So I would imagine, I don't know who started IBM, but it would be really interesting to look at IBM's, to do a blueprint of IBM so that you could articulate its purpose in 7 words or less. And then it would be great if that guy was still alive so you could do his purpose and then see how much they align.
Yeah, that's what
That'd
I'm
be
thinking.
fascinating.
Let's see, IBM founded. Well, we'll find it later, but yes, it was in 1911 actually founded. Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Probably selling pens back then. That was the most essential business tool of the time.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's a. I mean, that's a great point you brought up there. I mean, so many good discussions, and I realize time is flying here as we're having a beautiful conversation. So I want to thank you, Ian, for that. Now, is your course live right now? Can people go and take it and start to go through it?
No, it's not. We're in the final stages of integrating the AI into it. And so if you go to my website now, which is Purpose U, so it's the word purpose with the letter U at the end, like Purpose University, purposeu.co. Um, what you'll see there is there's a landing page that says, basically we're launching soon. Give us your email and we will notify you, um, when the course opens so you can take it the moment the gates open.
That's awesome. Okay, we'll have those links in the show notes as well. Ian, it's been
Thank
such
you.
a pleasure.
It
Thank
was
you.
great. It was great talking to you, Constantin. Thank you very much again for this opportunity.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration of personal transformation. Your presence and engagement are at the heart of what we do, and I sincerely appreciate you, your time, and thirst for knowledge, inspiration, and empowerment. Please consider showing your support by hitting like, subscribe, leaving a comment, or writing a review. Your engagement not only fuels our mission, but also helps others discover these insights. For more daily guidance on personal transformation across the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical realms, be sure to visit our website at unleashthyself.com. You can also find us on Instagram at Unleash Thyself Today, TikTok and YouTube at Unleash Thyself, and there we post daily content designed to inspire and empower you on your journey. If you have any specific thoughts, questions, or feedback, I truly value your input. I would love to hear from you. Together, we're building a community united in authenticity and purpose. Once again, Thank you for being a part of this movement. Until next time, continue to embrace your true self and live a life on purpose, with purpose. See you in the next episode.